Award-winning photographer Chester Higgins has been traveling to Ethiopia for decades. His latest work pays homage to the country's spiritual history, its people, and its breathtaking landscapes. Randall Pinkston sat down to talk with Higgins about his new exhibit, Zema, a love song.
I love what I call lifelines. Yeah. People call them wrinkles. I'd much prefer to call them lifelines.
Beautiful.
Isn't she?
Photographer Chester Higgins has a story for every picture.
These are religious pilgrims, and this is a religious stick that people stay on because Orthodox service can go for hours.
These images are among thousands he has captured over 4 decades of travel to Ethiopia, beginning in 1973, when he photographed the legendary Ethiopian Emperor Haile Selassie.
I was very taken by the Ethiopian people. They're very reserved, they're very calm, they're very confident. And yes, they're very strikingly handsome and beautiful.
You may not have seen Higgins' extensive collection of photographs from East Africa, but chances are you have seen his work. In the New York Times, where he was a staff photographer for nearly 40 years, capturing newsmakers and events.
So this is a book.
In his spare time, he combs through books in his extensive home library, learning all he can about Ethiopia and its mysteries, preparing for his mostly self-financed excursions.
Of all of the historical information you learned, what was most striking to you initially?
The fact that they had these churches that were dug out of the mountains.
Pictures of those subterranean churches in Lalibela are the centerpiece of Higgins' exhibition in the Scoto Gallery in Manhattan.
This is a church sitting in a 40-foot pit on the mountain. They had to dig it out. Here is a situation where no construction material is brought to the site. The mountain is taken away.
And you captured this at night with the stars?
Yes, yes.
Beautiful. So you were the first photographer to do
The first and only.
The first and only.
Right.
But how did Higgins, an American, a foreigner, persuade Ethiopians to trust him and capture some of their most intimate moments? First, Higgins says, he works through tribal elders. He pays people who pose for him, and he relies on a Polaroid camera.
Before I show my 35mm camera, whoever I was interested in, and if I could get to this point, I would then make a Polaroid of them and give them that Polaroid. Because I realized that it builds bridges of trust, but most importantly, allows that person to see how I see them.
That approach is one of the reasons Higgins calls himself a cultural anthropologist who works with the camera.
I'm studying the culture of African people, which I think has either been how exotic are they or how strange. And that's a very narrow thing. So I'm trying to reform how people see people of African descent, but I have a more selfish reason. I'm trying to find reflections of myself.
Higgins says his love affair with Ethiopia is far from over. He plans to continue his artistic journey.
Why do you keep going back to Ethiopia for your photographic projects?
Well, I've fallen in love with the people, the culture, the history, the uniqueness of the place. And I feel like being in a situation where I'm in a majority. I'm not a minority. And a majority of very exceptional people.
Randall Pinkston, Al Jazeera, New York.
Chester Higgins' exhibit on Ethiopia is at the Scoto Gallery in Manhattan until June 20th. That's our broadcast. Thanks for watching. I'm John Siegenthaler. The news continues next.